YouTube. However, if you are attending this for extra credit, we will be doing a feedback survey at the very end of the workshop. And that feedback survey is going to be asking you, if you're here for extra credit, to give us the professor's contact info. If you do not know the professor's contact info, it's okay. Just put in their name and perhaps the class that you're attending this for. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Noelle, and she's going to be presenting on Mental Health 101. So take it off, Noelle.
Thank you so much. So welcome everybody. Thank you all for joining us for this college success workshop. So I'm going to be discussing Mental Health 101. My name is Professor Noelle Lopez. I am an instructor in psychology. I teach at both the San Ramon and the Pleasant Hill campus, and I'm also a previous student as well. So I attended DVC and I attended the San Ramon campus and the Pleasant Hill campus. Like I said, today we're going to talk about Mental Health 101. We're going to start off talking about what wellness is. So wellness is not the absence of disease, illness, or stress, but instead it's the presence of a couple of different things. So one is optimal physical and behavioral health. This is one of the aspects. The second is purpose in life, active involvement in satisfying work and play. So both in your work life and outside of work, joyful relationships with friends, family, if you're in a relationship, and then also happiness as well. So these are the different parts of what wellness is, and this relates to mental health. Social inclusion and wellness. So there is a connection between social inclusion and wellness. So wellness relates to social factors that can either promote or hinder social inclusion. And for many, the impact of trauma, poverty, unemployment, and other social circumstances contributes to the development of behavioral health conditions as well. So these factors can marginalize individuals from society's social, economic, educational, recreational, cultural, and health resources. And we all have a role to play in building healthy, holistic, inclusive communities. So today, as part of discussing Mental Health 101, we are going to talk about the 8 dimensions of wellness. So there are 8 different dimensions. We have physical, occupational, spiritual, environmental, financial, social, intellectual, and emotional. And we're going to talk about what each one of these is and then how it also relates to wellness. So first we have our physical dimension. So physical is recognizing the need for physical activity, diet, sleep, and nutrition. So we should, on average, be sleeping about 7 to 9 hours of sleep. If you get 7 to 9 hours of sleep, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. So use the emojis, give me a thumbs up if you get 7 to 9 hours of sleep. If you get less or more than that, go ahead and put in the chat box how many hours of sleep you usually get a night. In addition to sleep being really important, also physical activity, so whether it's going on a walk, whether it's going to the gym, whether it's, working out, whatever means, YouTube has a lot of different activities as well. And then also your eating habits. So I'm looking in the chat and some of you are saying 5 or 3 to 4 hours of sleep, which, we want to try to work to get more sleep. Sleep has a lot of beneficial things for us and it does help relate to our wellness. So like I said, staying active, that can be like taking the stairs instead of the elevator, making healthy food choices when possible, getting enough sleep when possible, and then also if possible as well, seeing your primary care doctor. A lot of times you can talk to these individuals about things that may be going on and also try to figure out, kind of what is the best way to live in this physical dimension. The next dimension is the emotional dimension. So this is coping effectively with life and creating satisfying relationships. So a big part of this is being aware of your feelings. So knowing when you're stressed out or knowing when you're happy or knowing when you're sad. And then expressing your feelings to the people that you trust. So whether this is friends, family, a partner, and seeking support with upsetting emotions, whether it's turning to a person you trust or seeking help from a professional. but knowing how to seek support when you have those upsetting emotions. And then also learning your strengths and things that you want to improve. So maybe you're really great at being aware of your feelings, but you're not really great when you try to express that to other people. So knowing what your strengths are and then what things you want to improve. All of us may have something that we want to improve. It's okay to recognize that and to work towards that goal of being able to make something that you want to improve into a strength. We also have our social dimension. So this is developing a sense of connection, belonging, and a well-developed support system. So in this part, making a list of supportive friends, families, coworkers, peers that you have, and make at least one connection each day by calling, emailing, visiting someone. You can, chat with them over one of the many social medias, but making a connection with another individual. There's also joining clubs, social groups, or volunteer groups. Through DVC, we have a lot of different clubs that are offered. So maybe looking at those and seeing which one would interest you. And then also getting involved in a support group if that's something that is going to be beneficial for you. So the social dimension is really kind of what you want to do. So whether that's a club, whether it's a support group, whether it's hanging out with your friends, it's kind of up to you on that one. For the occupational dimension, this is getting personal satisfaction and enrichment from one's work and hobbies. So enjoying what you do as much as possible. So exploring career and volunteer opportunities in an area you are passionate about, communicating with others regularly and getting support when needed. So again, knowing how to reach out when you need it. Consider taking breaks, especially if we're overstressed, if it's possible to take breaks. And then also learning from mistakes. So everybody makes mistakes and we learn from them. The next dimension is intellectual dimension. So this is recognizing creative abilities and finding ways to expand knowledge and skills. So you can see what kind of skills training might be available to you. The public library is a great resource. You can find a book or a book series that interests you. Explore public events in your community by checking out the events section in your newspaper, or you can look on the DVC website and see what events are going on as well. And then you can also befriend people who can stimulate your mind too. So these are all different things that you can do for your intellectual dimension. The next one is the financial dimension. So finding satisfaction with current and future financial situations. So this is talking about being creative about budgeting and spending. You can meet with someone who specializes in this if that's something that you need, or exploring ways to save for future from a piggy bank to a savings account. So there are multiple different ways to figure out, budget or spending as much as you're able to do. There are people to help. There's YouTube videos that you can watch if that's something that you find is important for you and that you're able to do that. The next one is the environmental dimension. So this is achieving good health by occupying pleasant, stimulating environments that support well-being. So decluttering is one of the big things. So when we're surrounded by a lot of different things, it can increase stress. So when we declutter, donate, and recycle things that we don't need, it actually increases our well-being. We can appreciate nature, especially, going out and going on a walk or going on a hike. You'll be able to appreciate nature. So that's kind of the physical dimension and the environmental dimension. And then seeking out experiences that have a calming effect. And this is really by each individual person. Maybe that's going on a walk. Maybe that's watching some music or listening to music. Maybe it's watching a movie. It kind of depends on what that calming effect is for you. The last dimension is the spiritual dimension. Now, it's important to note that spiritual doesn't necessarily mean religious. It just means whatever spiritual convictions you might have. So this is expanding your sense of purpose and meaning in life. So making time for practices that enhance your sense of connection to self, nature, and others. Discover what values, principles, and beliefs are most important to you, and find a community whose spiritual outlook you share. So again, this could mean religion, but doesn't necessarily need to mean religion. So just whoever shares your same spiritual outlook. And then also helping others when they're in need. So those are the 8 kind of dimensions of wellness, and the dimensions are all interconnected. So wellness incorporates many dimensions of health that influence an individual's total well-being. So like I mentioned, going on a hike would be the environmental dimension because you're appreciating nature, but could also be the physical dimension as well because you're getting exercise. Another way that dimensions can be interconnected is the financial dimension might also affect the social dimension. So for instance, if you're able to go out to dinner with friends, if you're able to go to the movies with them, or if you're not able to do those things. The occupational dimension may also suffer because of that as well and may be interconnected as well. So all of these different things are interconnected, and all of these different 8 wellnesses can all affect each other. So that's one part of mental health that we're talking about, is this 8 dimensions of wellness. The next thing that we're going to talk about is stress appraisal, and then we're going to move into mental health specifically and what mental health is. So with stress appraisal, this is how we deal with potential stressors in life. So we may have different factors that affect the appraisal process. So whether we've experienced something before, whether or not we can prepare for it, do I know if it will happen? If we answer no to all of these, that creates more stress. And then we have temporal factors that also affect stress appraisal. So how soon will it happen? How long will it last? And do I know when it will happen? If any of those answers are soon, long, and no, this creates more stress. So let's say that I have a potential stressor of encountering a bear. I'm hiking, I'm trying to do the environmental and physical dimensions of my well-being, and I encounter a bear. Now, if we go over here to the chart, I have a potential stressor that occurs. It's a bear. And I have to think about how threatening this is to my well-being. So if the bear is super far away, then this is going to be perceived as harmless. There's going to be no stress. The bear isn't going to interfere with me. I will just walk away. The bear doesn't even see me. However, if the bear sees me, and the bear's close enough that I can't get away quickly, then this is going to be perceived as potentially harmful. So 3 things are now going to happen. 1, I'm going to have a biological reaction. So my heart is going to start to race. My breath is going to increase. I'm going to have an emotional reaction. If I'm that close to a bear, I'm probably going to get upset. And 3rd, I'm going to have a secondary appraisal. So do I have the resources to deal with the stressors? I then weigh my coping strategies. And this is also part of mental health, is having coping strategies in order to deal with stress. In the cases of the bear, if I have adequate resources, so let's say I have bear spray in my hand, I can use those existing coping resources in order to deal with the bear, to deal with that stressor. However, if I have inadequate resources, let's say I don't have bear spray, then I have one of 2 options. 1, I can discover a new way of responding or new resources. Maybe there's a rock nearby or something that I can use nearby, and that's how I can handle the stressor. Or I'm just going to remain stressed. So I'm not going to find any new resources. I'm just going to remain stressed. Now, the bear in this situation enacted my fight or flight, and then it also enacted my stress appraisal. Now, a bear might be a very real, potentially life-threatening thing. However, stress doesn't always have to deal with life-threatening situations. It may be an upcoming test that you have. It may be a stressful situation with a friend. All of these things still have the potential to enact your fight or flight and cause stress. And when we have stress that lasts for too long, then that causes our immune system to weaken and other negative other negative things that happen with our health as well. So the idea is we want to use ways in which to cope with stress in order to practice self-care. That's another big part of mental health as well. So stress happens regardless if something is actually life-threatening. It just happens when we encounter stress. So really talking about what mental health is a state of well-being in which the individual realizes their own abilities, can cope with normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to make a contribution to their community. So it's positive capacity, it's social and emotional well-being, it's behavior, thoughts, and emotions, but it is not happiness. So in the cases of mental health, this doesn't directly correlate to happiness. Instead, it is talking about Do you have coping strategies? Are you able to cope with the stresses? When you encounter stress, are you able to handle it? So a large question is, why is mental health and well-being so important? So there are lots of reasons why this is so important. One is living healthier lifestyles. Two, better physical health. So again, if we are exercising, if we're eating healthy, that's going to lead to better physical health. We have improved recovery from illness, especially if we are able to handle our stress and not just stay continually stressed for long periods of time. We have fewer limitations in daily living, higher educational attainment. We have greater productivity, greater employment and earnings, better relationships, increased social cohesion, and improved quality of life. So these are all things that correlate with mental health and well-being. So there's 10 tips to maintain good mental health. So one is developing a good opinion of yourself. So telling yourself, yes, I can do this. Yes, I can do a good job. Yes, I am capable of doing these things. It's really important to develop a good opinion of yourself. The second, eating well is also a good thing. When we eat, when we have good food, that makes us feel better. Exercising regularly. So when we exercise, it releases endorphins, and that also helps with our mental health. Learning how to manage stress. So learning those effective coping mechanisms. Enjoying the present or having a present-oriented outlook on life. Finding a balance between work, school, and life, which especially during the pandemic, from those of us who may be distance learning and having classes online at home and working from home, it's been really difficult to find this work-life balance, but it's so important to have that. Getting enough sleep. So again, about 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Developing relationships with others, having fun, and then also getting help if you need it. So being able to reach out to someone, whether it's friends or a professional, and say, I need help. I need help either learning how to manage my stress or learning different coping mechanisms. But if you need help, being able to reach out for it. So the next thing we're going to discuss is self-care. So when we hear self-care, a lot of us might think of the common hot bath is always considered a part of self-care, but it's more than just that. Self-care refers to activities undertaken with the intention of enhancing energy, restoring health, and reducing stress. And that may look really different to different people. For some individuals, it may be having a hot bath. For other individuals, it might be hiking. For other individuals, it might be watching Netflix or making a meal or whatever it is for them. But for each individual, finding what that self-care is for you. There are a lot of benefits to self-care. So greater capacity to manage stress, increased resilience, and reduced symptoms of mental health problems. So what is the point of self-care, right? What is the point of doing this? We increase our enjoyment of life. We cope with stressful events and sadness because self-care is partly a coping mechanism. We are able to achieve our goals and potential because we're able to cope with stressful events. We maintain positive connections with others. We're better equipped to support mental health and well-being of children if we have them. We have links to benefits of mental health and well-being. And broadly, it's to benefit ourselves, our family, and those in our care. So if you've ever heard the phrase when you're on an airplane, like you put your own oxygen on before helping someone else, it's kind of the same in self-care. You need to be able to help yourself before you help others. You can't pour from an empty cup, essentially. So you want to fill your own cup up before you try to fill others up. So self-care not only benefits ourselves, but also the people that we live with, our family, or those individuals who are in our care as well, because we're looking after ourselves as well. So like I mentioned, there are a lot of different ways that you can practice self-care. So these are just some of them. There's also more ways as well. But physically, again, some things that I've already said previously, things like healthy diet, regular exercise, and adequate sleep are all part of self-care. Monitoring and managing your stress in positive ways, making time for relaxation and fun, whatever that looks like for you, and also limiting the use of alcohol and other substances as well. So alcohol is a depressant, which also can decrease your wellness as well. So limiting those things. For relationships, foster and maintain in your personal relationships and strive for a balance between your work life and your personal life. So like I mentioned, during the pandemic, we are working from home. We are spending much more time with our families, maybe than we were before. We're going to school online. So that balance was really not there for a lot of people. And so striving to find that balance is really important, because then you're able to increase your wellness. And then also there's less stress as well. So work and study. So develop interests and friendships outside of your work or study environment. Spirituality, again, this doesn't need to mean religion, but it can. If you have spiritual beliefs, make time for regular spiritual practice or relationships with others who share your philosophy. And then again, asking for help. So if you need help, making sure that you reach out and you get it. There are some self-care activities that I'm going to discuss that can be done. You see there's a little picture that says take care of yourself, and it's a potted plant that's watering itself and kind of digging up its soil. So some of the self-care activities we're going to talk about are mindfulness, gratitude, nurturing relationships, and then self-awareness and reflective practice. So with self-awareness and reflective practice, this is a lot of times just like thinking about how your week went or how your day went and where there needs to be improvement or things that you need to work on, and then trying to find a way in order to work on those things. And then also nurturing relationships, spending time with others, making time for others, whether it's in person or online or on the phone. For gratitude, gratitude is being thankful for something or expressing appreciation. There's a lot of benefits that are associated with gratitude. So things like greater happiness and well-being, lower blood pressure, fewer feelings of isolation and loneliness, greater happiness, optimism, joy, and pleasure, more compassion and generosity, better sleep, increased exercise and care of health, and also reduced depression. So there are a lot of different ways to do gratitude. So one is a gratitude diary where you set aside, 10, 15 minutes each day to write. A gratitude jar or box. A lot of people commonly do this at the start of the new year, where they get a jar and they write one thing each day and put it in the jar. And then on the next New Year's Eve, they read all of the different entries. There's also daily reflection, and then also giving thanks to the individuals that you show gratitude for. So whether it's telling them over the phone, in person, or writing them a card. The next thing is mindfulness. So go ahead and write in the chat box whether or not you've ever tried meditation and if you were successful. So do you like meditation? Were you not successful with meditation? How do you feel about it if you've tried it in the past? So there are lots of different benefits for mindfulness. So reduce stress, boosting the immune system, enhancing relationships, help in treatment of depression and prevent relapse, and improved general quality of life. So mindfulness meditation is one of the big ones. So there is research that shows that there's actual changes in the brain when we practice meditation. It increases the gray matter density in areas of the brain that are associated with learning, memory, emotional regulation, emotional intelligence, self-awareness, compassion, and empathy. It sounds like from the chat box that some of you may have tried it or not tried it, but are open to it or have been successful. I have tried to meditate in the past, and I am not good at meditation at all. I am not great at meditation. I've tried it multiple times. It just doesn't work for me. However, mindfulness is more than just meditation. There's also breathing exercise, there's balance, there's stress reduction, awareness, body, and soul as well. So there are things like podcasts that help with breathing exercises or different apps. So there are more things to try than just meditation. And for me, someone that meditation isn't always, I'm not the most successful with it, things like breathing or balance exercises or body exercises like body scans, I've found that I'm much more I'm able to do those. So meditation doesn't necessarily work for me, but breathing exercises or other types of exercises I'm successful in. So really it's about finding what's best for you. And like I said, there are lots of podcasts or YouTube videos or applications on your phone that are really helpful for this as well. So a couple of take-home messages. So your well-being is as important as every other person's well-being. Looking after yourself isn't selfish. I know that that's a common thing, but it's not. You need to be able to take care of yourself before other people. When you do take care of yourself, you are better able to care for others. There's a little kind of picture of you can't pour from an empty cup. Take care of yourself first. And then under the self-care umbrella, we have things like taking time for yourself, staying hydrated, putting your health first, going outside, fueling your body, being genuine, practicing forgiveness, and acknowledging your feelings, which are some other ways to practice self-care as well. And like I said, self-care is definitely not a one size fits all. It's what's individual to the person and what works best for them. So for some people, that may be a hike. For some people, it may be a bath. For some people, it might be watching Netflix. For some people, it might be scrolling on Instagram. So it's really about what's going to work best for you. In talking about mental health, we of course talk about what mental health is and talk about self-care, but it's also really important to talk about burnout as well. So lots of individuals are feeling burnout right now due to the fact that we've been spending so much time at home, and we've been working from home or working online or just working in high stressful situations, and then also going to school online as well. So a lot of us has been experiencing burnout. So these are some tips to manage burnout. So one is familiarizing yourself with symptoms of burnout. For many, the first indication is physical and emotional exhaustion. So in addition to this, there's a sense of fatigue. Other signs and symptoms may include feelings of detachment, general underwhelm, a sense of ineffectiveness, engaging in escapist behavior, feeling like every day is a bad day, insomnia, and then trouble concentrating as well. So knowing what burnout is kind of the first step in this. The second is identifying which stage of burnout you're in. So there are different stages of burnout. The first is the honeymoon phase. This phase is characterized by high energy, creativity, and satisfaction with a situation. In this stage, you choose effective strategies to cope with stress. So you're still able to cope with stress. You're still choosing strategies that are going to be helpful. In phase 2 or stage 2, it's a balancing act. So here you become aware that there is an inconsistency in coping with stress, and some days are better than others. In stage 3, you're experiencing chronic symptoms. So you are continuously experiencing the symptoms of stress with increasing intensity. In stage 4, a feeling of crisis. The symptoms have been unaddressed and are now critical in affecting your daily functioning. So whether you consistently have like a stomach ache from stress, or you're not able to concentrate or not get all of your work done, but now it's affecting your daily functioning. And then last, feeling perpetually enmeshed. So the symptoms are now habitual and embedded into your physical and emotional life. So these are all the different stages of burnout, and an individual can be in one of these 5 stages. So it's important to know what burnout feels like and then to identify which stage we're in. Next, writing down a list of activities that make you feel burnt out and consider ways to alleviate the impact of each. So some activities that might be contributing to burnout are like answering emails or alerts right away. So would you be able to schedule answers for non-emergency messages, and then check out your computer and phone settings to see what features can help you set healthy boundaries? I will say for myself, I started to put my phone on like sleep mode at a certain point during the day. So like now, for like a good solid like 12 hours, my phone is in sleep mode. So I'm able to sleep, I'm able to rest. I don't have, the constant notifications coming in. Attending multiple Zoom meetings as well can also increase burnout. So if you're taking all of your classes that you have synchronous meetings, so you're meeting virtually online. And then in addition, if you're attending multiple Zoom meetings for school or for work, then that all creates burnout as well. And all this time on the computer has also increased things like eye strain too, because we are on the computer for so long. So with this, just really being able to kind of cut down and kind of schedule yourself on the computer and trying to give yourself space and time to decompress as well. So like I give myself a kind of 5 to 10 minute break every hour where I just step away from the screen, go to get something to drink or something to eat. And I find that that's really helpful. And then also trying to mix up your social life with activities that are off screen as well. So if you're comfortable, consider planning socially distanced activities with friends, or go to the movies or go out to dinner. So whatever your comfort level is, but then so you have stuff in person as well as stuff online. The next tip is mindfully question behaviors or patterns of thinking that may contribute to burnout. So working nonstop without breaks, definitely give yourself breaks, whether it's, a minute or 2 or 5 to 10 minutes, but make sure you give yourself a break, step away from the computer, get a drink of water, get something to eat, or just go outside and just kind of breathe in the fresh air. But scheduling breaks will really help. Not getting quality sleep. Again, sleep comes up, making sure that you get enough sleep. Spending your break time on social media. So social media has a lot of different negatives to it. And so potentially staying offline and staying off social media, and instead maybe have apps that might help with decreasing your stress as well. Going back to the sleep one as well, creating something like a bedtime routine can also prove to be really helpful. So like I said, there's lots of different like podcasts that can help with this, or you can read a book, or there's soothing sounds that you can download, meditation, if that's helpful for you. So trying to have a bedtime routine before bed is also helpful. And then also turning the screens off before as well. So they say, research says that you should turn your screens off about an hour before you go to sleep, because it will help your brain wind down, and then you'll be able to sleep better, which is also going to be helpful. The next tip is set aside time for non-work related activities that recharge you. So things like going for a walk, reading a chapter in a book you find pleasurable, stretching or meditating, calling a friend to discuss something totally unrelated to your sources of stress. So all of these are great non-work related activities, but anything that you want to do that's a non-work related activity that you feel like recharges you. So if that's watching Netflix, if that is going shopping, if that is cooking a meal by yourself, if that's ordering takeout, whatever that looks like for you, giving yourself those times where you're completely not working, you may be unplugged from your phone, and you're able to set aside that time to recharge you. The next tip is make sure to applaud your efforts, not just your outcomes. So honor your small steps. So any steps that you take, tasks that you complete, make sure that you honor those, acknowledge what you've accomplished, and then also, you can break down bigger tasks into smaller steps. You can create a to-do list and then, check off everything that you complete. So just making sure that you applaud your efforts and applaud the things that you get done during the day. The last tip is remember that burnout can happen to anyone, anytime. So a lot of us have responsibilities that need our attention in work and in home life. And when those obligations accumulate at a rate that isn't sustainable, it can cause burnout for anybody. So today we have a lot of different things that compound that and create more burnout. So remember that dealing with difficult or complex situations is a part of the human experience, and each day creates an opportunity to practice new coping strategies towards a healthier version of ourselves. So hopefully one of the tips that we discussed can help with burnout. There's also another 7 ways to prevent burnout from working from home. So one, like I mentioned, taking breaks, maintaining your schedule. So maybe write out your schedule and make sure to write in breaks in there as well. Setting up your workspace to a conducive work environment where you're able to be productive. Again, getting some exercise in, keeping yourself organized, unplug during non-work hours. So whether that's turning your phone off or going into sleep mode or just putting on your do not disturb. And then again, reaching out for help when you need it as well. With reaching out for help, we have a lot of different campus resources that can be really helpful for you depending on what resources you need. So on campus, and if you want any of these direct links, you can email me and I'll put my email in the chat so that if you want to email me for any of these resources, you can go ahead and email me. But we have a student guide, so transition to remote instruction. We have a tech student loan request form. We have a COVID-19 emergency grant. We have tutoring. We have the academic support center. We have DVC and community resources during uncertain times. We have free food resources. So if you are in need of food, we have different resources for food, whether it's the grocery bag and food distribution days, or if you need other types of food resources. There's weekly success tip emails. And then we also have a lot of information when it comes to our kind of counseling department as well. And DVC has created this semester, we have something called Timely MD, which has been offered for students so that you have access to resources as far as counseling goes as well. So I just clicked on the wellness and mental health resources, and this is our DVC website. You can see we have individual wellness counseling. We have this Timely MD, which is a telehealth program for students. It's a free service that provides you access to 24/7 medical and mental telehealth via Timely MD. We have the mindfulness community. We have student assistance programs. So we have free off-campus services. We have mental health support resource and tips, and we have mental health support in the community as well. So DVC offers these resources to you if you are in need of them, and those are helpful for you. We also have a DVC free food resources page as well. And with basic needs, we have food, housing, health and wellness, events and workshops, basic needs advisory group, the COVID-19 emergency grants. There's all these different resources for you. There's a Pleasant Hill food pantry, a San Ramon food program, free produce market at DVC Pleasant Hill campus, fresh success program, local resources, free community resources, and also statistics as well about your community. So both of these things are available on the DVC website, and those are all resources that you as a student can use and utilize if those would be helpful for you. And if you, like I said, if you have any questions or if you want specific links, I've went ahead and put my email into the chat. And that is it for the presentation. At this time, if anybody has any questions, they can ask me any questions, or Zara can also maybe do the post eval survey or the post presentation survey too, if you would like.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, Noelle. This was an amazing workshop. A lot of great resources, y'all. Make sure to take note. We have a ton of resources for y'all here at DVC, and all you have to do is really ask or go out, look around campus. We have a ton of things for y'all to make sure that you feel supported and to make sure that you are healthy during this time. Does anybody have any questions for Noelle? No? If nobody has any questions, well, we're going to go ahead and do the feedback survey. I'm going to post a link on, thank you, awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and post the link to the chat. Make sure that y'all complete the survey. Again, this is for y'all to give us information about who we should be emailing. So what professor you're attending this class for to get your extra credit. It also gives Noel an opportunity to get feedback from y'all to see what we can do to improve on our workshops. Or if you just thought that it was an amazing workshop, which I think it was amazing, then you can definitely leave your comments there. So I'm gonna give y'all approximately 5 minutes. So at 4:45, y'all can head out. And again, this is for feedback and it is also tracking attendance. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and 4:45.